Transformation is not just living above sin. It's living above everything that mastered the fallen man. So sickness, poverty, limitation, backwardness, stagnation, all of those things lose their ability. They are trying to hold you, but they can't, because new versions of you begin to evolve. New versions. Because the version they are able to trap is the weak man of the flesh. Now the man of the spirit has been born. And so the fallen forces are not educated enough to master the spirit man. He said, for the light shineth in the darkness. Dominion is not the absence of darkness, is ruling even in the presence of darkness. So lust suddenly can no longer tame you. Sickness can no longer tame you. Jesus said, if you drink any deadly thing, he calls it deadly. But if it enters you, even though it's deadly, it's useless on your inside. First John, look at scriptures. Let me give you scriptures. First John 3. It says, whosoever is born of God, it said, doth not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and cannot sin, because he is born of God. So when you are born of God, you are introduced into a new system of operation. This is beyond willpower. This is beyond discipline. You know, Paul, it took Paul time to come into this understanding. If you read Romans chapter 7 from verse 20 to 25, you will see that Paul was struggling, because Paul discovered there were many laws operating on his inside. He said, there is a law in me called the law of the mind that made me desire to do the will of God. He said, but in my attempt to do the will of God, I discovered there is another law in my members called the law of sin and death. He said, the law of sin and death overrides my will and make me to do sin that I don't want to. So this thing is beyond an act. It's an organic reality that is locked into the fallen man. And if you go to chapter 8, Paul discovered there is another law that was introduced into us when we were born of God. He said, the law of the spirit of life that is in Christ Jesus has set me free from the law of sin and death. So when you are born of God, a new system is introduced into you. That system is what makes you rise above the forces that trapped and mastered the fallen man. So the more you yield to God, the more you learn the ways of God and become spiritually minded, the more empowered that law becomes. And so the precursor for activating that law is spiritual mindedness. That's why I tell Christians, you can't be a Christian and hear testimonies of sickness and death as your predominant emphasis. You can't be a Christian and focus on sin and iniquity as your predominant emphasis. Because if you focus on corruption, you will of corruption reap death. But if you focus on the things of the spirit, you'll discover that law is empowered on your inside. You find many Christians, 99% of the music they hear come from the fallen world. And they think they can walk in dominion. You can't be one born of God, because you have exposed yourself to the technology of the fall. You find Christians, all their friends are talking seduction, iniquity. Is something they delight in. When they are gisting about sin. They are exposing to death. Ask those who exercise dominion. All their conversations are within the premise of life. All my friends are people who know about God and manifesting. So if we sit and talk, it becomes an explosion. You hear somebody talk some things and you are not even talking, but the witness that comes from him chokes lust in your spirit. Choke it, because he says some things that awakens powers in your spirit. Meet some of the people we talk with. You sit down, somebody just looks at cancer. He say, let tumors dematerialize. He's just talking. And then you see people jumping. I had tumor on my breast, it has gone. I had tumor in my abdomen, it has gone. And then you are sitting there, come on. What he said here was not even powerful. How come? You will lose appetite for food. You will sit down, your friend, he calls somebody, say you are Matthew. You came from Limpopo. I'm seeing, and then you are wondering, well, who is telling you this thing? And the next thing, appetites rise up. You can't hear such things and go and cooperate with the devil. It's not possible. The reason it looks as if nothing is at work in you is because you are exposed to the wrong energy. Those of us who are born of God, we live above the forces of the fall. And the way we do it is because we are exposed to things that makes us spiritually minded. So when we are talking about being born of God, we are talking about dominion over the forces of the fall. Because the inoculation of God in your spirit man empowers you and makes it impossible for you to be a slave. I don't know when last I took drug. Not because it's a sin. I'm exposed to frequencies. There are times when my body feels sick and I hear some testimonies. And something rises. I'm not saying don't take drugs. So don't get me wrong. It's not zeal, it's awakening. If I get to a point where I try, it doesn't work, I will. But I'm telling you that nothing has knocked me down. And it's possible that you can have a warfare around your health. And the Lord will instruct you, treat yourself. Go ahead and do it. There's nothing wrong with it. But what I'm saying is, as you journey in this rebirth journey, you will discover that you keep going to levels where everything that mastered the fallen man will lose its powers in your life. That's what it means to be born of God. Living above the powers of the elements.